Chad Brooks.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Hopefully I won't need the full 10 minutes. I will be presenting a detailed letter to the City Clerk addressed to you, Madam Mayor, and members of City Council. My name is Chad Brooks. I'm a resident of the City of Asheville, and I worked for the Asheville Fire Department from 2004 to 2013. I'm here today in full support of and defense of Division Chief Joy Ponder, Asheville Fire Department Division Chief Joy Ponder. I have had experiences with Chief Burnett that bear directly on Chief Ponder's situation. I don't believe Chief Burnett's responses were isolated incidents. I believe they show a pattern of behavior that the City of Asheville has an obligation to address. If I may state the obvious, Joy Ponder is top-notch. As a person, as a firefighter, and as a senior fire officer, she is top-notch. As you may have already observed, this is a near universal belief amongst her colleagues and has been since joining the department in 1998. I left the department with a medical disability retirement in 2013. The examining physicians at the time attributed my condition and subsequent retirement to stress. Not the stress of being a firefighter. I loved being a firefighter, but instead the stress of trying to report incidents of great concern, one of which that resulted in the death of a patient, to Fire Chief Scott Burnett. The incidents that brought me to Chief Burnett's office centered around my immediate supervisor after I was promoted to engineer in 2009. It seemed obvious to me that his erratic behavior and alarming decision-making would be considered completely unacceptable by our employer, the City of Asheville. I felt morally obligated to speak up directly to the head of the department about this volatile, unstable person who was in a supervisory position. One of the many incidents I reported to Chief Burnett involved my crew's response to a house fire. My station received a call for a structure fire, and as the driver of the truck, I chose the route that would ensure we arrive as quickly as possible. As we set out, my captain suggested that we go a different direction, which was confusing to me because it was clearly the slower of the two options. After continuing with my suggested route and arriving first on the scene, out of about 6 trucks responding, my supervisor began screaming at me in front of the rest of the crew, quote, "This is just great. Now we're first, and I have to write the report. I should make you do it and see how you like it." I realized then that when he had asked me to take a different route, it was a ploy to intentionally slow us down so that we wouldn't be the first truck to arrive and he wouldn't have to spend an hour in front of the computer writing the report. We should all think about that for a minute. Someone called 911 because their house was full of smoke, and my captain wanted to take a roundabout way that would guarantee that we would arrive later. On top of that, he was so irate when we arrived that he completely showed his cards. There was no need to guess what his intentions were. He had spelled it out for all of us. This is not an isolated incident. The same supervisor ordered me, the driver, to respond to a medical call of difficulty breathing as if it were a non-emergency, meaning no flashing lights, no sirens, and at a slow rate of speed. This is unheard of in the fire service and goes against all protocol. My captain was in a foul mood that day, and after entering the truck and slamming his door, he shouted, "This is stupid that we have to do this." Halfway to the residence, after sitting at multiple red lights, the difficulty breathing was upgraded by dispatch to a full cardiac arrest. Someone's heart had stopped, and they needed our immediate assistance. Our patient, someone's father, someone's husband, died that day, in part because the Asheville Fire Department was in a bad mood. I will never forget that grieving family who to this day know nothing about the events leading up to our arrival. Chief Burnett didn't agree with these incidents. He did not believe they were of major concern. In fact, when I told him that I was surprised that my captain had not been severely disciplined, he erupted and screamed, quote, "Do your damn job." That last meeting was the third or fourth time I had asked to speak with him regarding this issue, and he was obviously done with me. It was clear that he wanted me to shut up and go away and stop making waves. I'm very confident in my recollection of these events because I recorded my meetings with Chief Burnett and I reviewed them in preparation for this public comment. During that same time period, there was a sexual harassment incident centered around a battalion chief in the Asheville Fire Department. This city employee used his city-issued cell phone to take pictures, of his genitalia, and then sent those pictures to spouses of other firefighters. This act was nothing shy of workplace sexual harassment. Those victims became whistleblowers and in the end settled with the city. That battalion chief not only remained an Asheville firefighter, but shortly thereafter was promoted by Chief Burnett to the upper administration of the Asheville Fire Department, where he is still employed today. He has a seat at the all-important table, making crucial decisions for the residents of the city, while Chief Joy Ponder has had her responsibilities stripped and is being forced to defend herself from Chief Burnett's baseless accusations of poor performance. My experiences with Chief Burnett have left me disappointed, to say the least. Again, with Chief Burnett's blessing and with me silenced, my former supervisor didn't skip a beat. He remained in his same position at the same fire station and retired just a few months ago with his full pension. He should have immediately been fired and possibly had charges brought against him for the death of that patient. Chief Burnett decided to defend and promote the picture-taking battalion chief. He should have immediately been fired and possibly had charges brought against him for sexual harassment. Chief Joy Ponder, meanwhile, is pulled from her regular duties so that she could, quote, work closely to and under the direct supervision of Chief Burnett because of her performance issues. Chief Burnett isn't running a good old boys club. The Asheville Fire Department is one of the most vital departments in the city and needs to be managed as such. There's no place for favoritism in any department, especially one where life and death are such real concerns. Chief Burnett is clearly capable of circling the wagons around his friends. It seems that no matter what the offense, if you're a member of the club, you can have full confidence to behave in a manner most consider appalling. My job as an Asheville City firefighter was to protect the citizens of Asheville, and I had assumed that this was my fire chief's main concern as well. Instead, it was to continue the structures of cronyism and to protect the Good Old Boys Network. I'm sharing this information with you because the city manager has said she takes grievance complaints like Chief Ponder's very seriously. With no disrespect, I've seen little evidence of this. I thought that the information I'm presenting here might bring some urgency to directly address the very serious nature of Chief Ponder's grievances. I just want to say that this woman we're talking about is an incredible woman, and she has been hung out to dry. From what I understand, even to this day, she had to go back to work. She had breast cancer and surgery. She lost all of her time, and she's had to go back to work. And from what I understand, she has been put right back in the position that Chief Burnett wanted her to be working directly under him. And that's where she is today, working directly for the person who she made these grievances against.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Obviously,
time.
this is a personnel matter, and so none of us can comment in any way. But of course, we have staff here who have listened to you, and so thank you.
Thank you.